Hey guys, welcome back to Starcastic Remarks alongside Chris and James. My name is Ryan Chambers. We are the official Dallas Stars podcast of THPN. Thank you to all of you who are joining us live here this Wednesday evening, and for all of you who are listening afterwards as well. We've got a ton of people who are doing so. If you like anything you hear, or I guess if you like anything you see too, or whatever. You can click like and subscribe on YouTube. Yeah, hubba. And make sure you hit that notification bell so that the next time a episode goes live, you don't miss it. We have got absolutely nothing to talk about tonight, guys. We're gonna dig down deep into the barrel of nothingness tonight and try to figure out what the heck we're going to talk about. I mean, we could talk about the Mitch Marner rumors to Dallas, which makes absolutely no sense. I don't even know why that's still considered a thing. I mean, Nils Lundkvist re-signed, Mavrik Bourque re-signed. Y'all haven't gotten a chance to talk about Matt Duchene being re-signed. Marchment also, I think he got traded somewhere too, if I believe so. And then Steve Spott is no longer the assistant coach of the Dallas Stars as well, and we'll get into that a little bit too. So absolutely nothing to talk about, right?
It's been a wild offseason. Nothing has slowed down yet. So hopefully that pace can just keep up all the way until October.
And I'm going to go ahead, and I know that the title of our episode is talking about Mitch Marner being a Dallas Star and all of that, but I want to start tonight with this because this is the most recent thing that I have seen, and this is from Oilers Access, and he is quoting Bob Stauffer from Oilers Now, who covers the Edmonton Oilers, and here's why it is significant. Oilers Now says that the Oilers granted the Dallas Stars permission to interview Glenn Gulutzan. Pierre LeBrun speculates that it is down to Gulutzan or Neil Graham for the Stars head coaching job. So, first off, now we have it confirmed by an outside source that Glenn Gulutzan is being considered for the head coaching job for the Dallas Stars. That's not a big surprise. A lot of people had kind of talked about that because of the connections that he's had to Dallas and the fact that he's been very successful in Edmonton as the power play / assistant coach for the Edmonton Oilers. But it's not confirmed that it's between the two guys, between Glenn Gulutzan and Neil Graham. I mean, what are your thoughts when you first hear that? Glenn Gulutzan, 100% being confirmed, considered for the job, for the head coaching job of the Dallas Stars.
Well, it's not surprising because of the connection with him and Jim Nill, so it makes sense. It would not make me happy. I mean, I know we had Gulutzan coaching here when the Stars were in a very different era. It was not a championship aspiration team. That being said, I don't think he did great with what he did have. So he would have a skeptic in me right off the get-go, and he'd have to convince me otherwise. So, and I also don't see how that's not a retread. I mean, that's kind of the buzzword that we heard from insiders is they don't want it to be a retread. And I mean, you're literally hiring a coach who's been the coach of the Dallas Stars before. That sounds like a retread to me.
Yeah, I don't think it matters too much who's hired. Honestly, the skill of this team is still incredibly high. The only point in which it'll be a problem is if they somehow miss the playoffs with the team they have. That's when it becomes a problem. But there's so much leadership on this team that no matter who you bring in, I mean, they're going to retain a large portion of their game still.
Honestly, I would not be surprised to see Glenn Gulutzan be the head coach of the Dallas Stars. I don't know if I necessarily want it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's completely unfair to him because it's been 13, 14 years since he's been the head coach of the Dallas Stars. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So obviously he's been through a couple of ringers in other places. He's been in Calgary. He's been in Vancouver. I think he was a head coach in Calgary as well. He's been an assistant everywhere, it seems like. So the thing I don't think he would consider is if, say, Neil Graham is the head coach of the Dallas Stars. I don't know if he would consider coming back to Dallas as like the Steve Spott and being like the power play / forwards assistant coach. Do you see that being a possibility with Gulutzan?
No, I think it's much more likely that Gulutzan would be the head coach, and now that Spott is with Boston, that Neil Graham would be the power play coach. So I don't see Gulutzan making a lateral move from a team that lost in the finals to a team that can't get out of the Western Conference.
Now, I understand that like Glenn Gulutzan has like the world's best power play unit at his disposable. Disposable at his.
It grinds up the PKs of the other team.
Yes, literally they do.
Saved you.
But there you go. You're helping me out, Chris. Thank you. I appreciate it. with Bouchard, with McDavid, with Draisaitl, and I mean even Hyman. Hyman is a big part of that as well. But you know, is that literally just because he's got good players over there? That's why the power play is so successful? Because I think he at least deserves some credit. I mean, you could be an absolute amazing coach and still not have the right players and still have a good power play. So I think he deserves some credit, even though the players that he has in Edmonton are pretty good. I mean, is that fair to say?
Well, he deserves some credit, but it's hard to really tell what you can credit to an assistant coach from the outside without knowing what's going on in the team, you know? So I don't think you can really glean anything from what he's doing with Oilers or what he's doing from other teams really as an assistant.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's especially tough when you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl who can both just 1v4 the PK by themselves.
Yep.
And both have done it on numerous occasions too. That's a very good point, James. Okay, it's kind of there already, so let's just kind of talk about it. Steve Spott is no longer with the Dallas Stars. I mean, I'm not surprised at all.
Oh, man.
As much crap as he got and a lot of it was very critical and, you know, very worthy of the criticism that he was being received. He still had a pretty good tenure as the Dallas Stars assistant head coach and being the power play guy. They consistently finished top 10 in the NHL while he was here. And again, yes, he had good weapons at his disposal, but see, I got it right that time. You know, I'm not surprised that he's not coming back because he is a very big loyalist to Pete DeBoer. And it seemed like he did an interview for a podcast, and it seemed like that what Jim Nill said in the press conference that everyone was going to be coming back and they still had a 1-year deal, that was in complete opposite, you know, contrarian, whatever, to what Steve Spott said. Steve Spott said that they were looking to go a different direction. Is it just like the timing of it and everything is bad, or is someone lying and not telling the truth? I mean, what's going on there? What do y'all think?
Well, I mean, it could even be Steve Spott's buddy got fired, so Steve Spott feels like he's fired now too, you know? I mean, it could be as simple as that. We don't really know.
I think that's a large part of it, Chris, but also, I mean, you're getting a new head coach as well. He clearly likes the way that DeBoer runs his teams. He wouldn't jump ship to go coach with DeBoer otherwise. But I think it just makes sense to leave now, because when you bring new head coaches in as well, you never know if they're gonna want to keep the assistant coaches, and that can always be up to them. And I feel like there's a lot of free will with that across the league.
And that's a normal thing that for those that don't know how that works with coaching in the NHL. Typically, you hire the head coach, and then the head coach brings in his guys, right? Which is exactly what Pete DeBoer did with Steve Spott. Steve Spott has been his right-hand man for almost a decade. Wherever Pete DeBoer got a job, Steve Spott got a job too. But that was not the case when Jim Montgomery, the current head coach of the St. Louis Blues, when he was the head coach of the Dallas Stars, because he was coming from college to here, to the NHL. So let's assume Graham is the one that, you know, gets the job, because I really think that it's his job, basically. Do you think that Jim Nill will be like, these are your assistant coaches because you need help? You've never been an NHL head coach before. Or do you think that he at least gets some say in who the assistant head coach is?
He would get some say, of course, but I don't think that Graham has anyone specific in the way that Pete DeBoer has. I mean, Graham's two assistant coaches down here in Texas are Travis Morin and Max Fortunas, who are pretty much Texas Stars legends. And after their playing career, decided they wanted to coach, and that's where they pretty much are getting their start at. So I don't think he would have anybody that he really wants to have there. And I think Alain Nasreddine would be a great kind of mentor to have for a young coach in his first few years in the NHL too.
And that was going to be my next go-to, Chris. You read my mind. Is Alain Nasreddine. He has been a head coach in the NHL before. And honestly, with what he's been able to do with the PK, and yes, a lot of credit goes to Esa Lindell, but again, some of it is the structure that and how he coaches his defensemen and the PK unit. A lot of that should go to Alain Nasreddine too, because we've had Matt Dumba and Ilya Lyubushkin in the lineup at times. And other times we had Brendan Smith. So he deserves a little bit of credit for that. And I think that is super critical, is keeping Alain Nasreddine happy and trying to keep him here and telling him not to go anywhere else. I think the Stars have a little bit of luck in the fact that there's no other really big coaching jobs available that Alain Nasreddine would take over what he currently has. But there is some speculation as to if Alain Nasreddine didn't get the head coaching job and they did give it to Neil Graham, would he then jump ship because he wasn't offered the head job? So do you think anything like that happens? Because I personally don't. But there is some thought process to that.
I don't know, Nasreddine. Who knows? Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, so that's just the sum of the coaching stuff that has happened, and there's so much more going into it. Okay, let's jump into the reason why we named the podcast episode what it is. I don't get it. There are continued reports that Mitch Marner is being connected to the Dallas Stars, and it makes zero sense in the whole cap aspect, but it really doesn't make any sense because who is he going to pass the puck to? Because okay, so let me read this up first. In the fact that if Mitch Marner is a Dallas Star, I don't think Jason Robertson is a Dallas Star. And the reason being is because he is the most tradable of the assets that you have that make a lot of money. You're not going to trade Wyatt Johnston away. That's just not going to happen. And I mean, and Sagan has a no move clause. So those are the only two others that you could probably move. And neither one of those are even an option, in my opinion. So is that a fair thing to say? If Mitch Marner is a Dallas Star, Jason Robertson is not. And if Jason Robertson is not here, then Mitch Marner has no one to pass the puck to, because that's what he is. He's a very good playmaker and he's a point per game guy, but he relies a lot on someone else shooting the puck for him as he sets people up. Is all of that fair to say?
Well, it's definitely fair to say that if Marner is on the team, then Robo's not. That is correct. And that's true of any of the other big free agents that are on the board. And that's true of even Rasmus Andersson, who's the Stars have been connected to as well. If he somehow gets on the Stars, Robo's gone. If there's any big move made, Robo's not on the team. That's kind of what it's going to be. And Marner would just be put on the top line. So that's who he'd pass it to. He'd pass to Mikko Rantanen, and Rantanen would score.
They're both right-handers, though. So who would play left?
One of them would play on the left. Mikko already plays on his off wing. He might just play on his strong wing instead.
Fair enough. What do you think, James? Is that outside the realm of possibility that both Marner and Robo could be on the same team?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's nothing else you could do. I mean, you could just sell defense completely, get rid of, if you find a way to get rid of Dumba and Lyubushkin.
Even then, you don't have enough.
Yeah.
This is what it would be. If you wanted to have enough to get Marner, you have to get rid of Robo, Dumba, and Lyubushkin. And then Marner eats up 85-90% of those three contracts with what his value would be. It would be $12 million, and that'd be a discount for Dallas. I mean, he's projecting to be around Draisaitl's numbers right now.
So I'll push back a little bit on this, because if he really wants to play in Dallas, which I think that's why the rumors are out there, because he wants to play in Dallas, because we've won and we've been in the Western Conference Final for 3 years in a row. It just that's the only thing that I can think of as to why that it's still there. He like, his agent probably talked to him and he's like, hey, where do you want to go? And the teams that keep coming up are teams that are good, right? The top 3 teams I keep seeing: Vegas, Dallas, and LA. LA just can't get past the Edmonton Oilers. That's why they keep losing in the playoffs. But Dallas and the Oilers, those are the last 2 teams who have made the Western Conference Final in 2025 and 2024. So that's the only reason I can think of. And then the thing that keeps making me even consider that even further is that Chris Johnston, I don't know if you guys listen to the Chris Johnston show on the SDPN, but he said that, Vegas is the front runner because that's just what they do. They go out and they get the big fish all the time. I mean, they got Hurdle, they get Stone, they get Noah Hannafin when he was the biggest, defensive trade target out there. So that's what everyone is just assuming. That's just what everyone is thinking in the media world. But he said he specifically keeps hearing things about Mitch Marner in Dallas. And he did say that the only way he thinks it could work is if Mitch Marner came to Dallas and he took like a $10 or $10.5 million cap hit, around that average. That doesn't seem realistic to me, that's considering what he could get from Vegas and even from Carolina. Like, Carolina could offer him a lot of money as well. So I as much as I would love to have Mitch Marner as a Dallas Star, trust me, that'd be awesome. It doesn't make any sense. And it also doesn't make sense considering how conservative Jim Nill has been. And he has been very iffy about trading Jason Robertson. That's been out there too. And you would have to get rid of Robo, Lyubushkin, and Dumba. And I don't know if teams would be willing to do the Stars a favor by taking one or all 3 of those players, even if they're all in 3 different trades or whatever.
Well, after the Kane deals, anybody will take anybody, apparently. But
I guess that's true.
But yeah, that'd be a crazy discount for him to take. He'd be leaving $3 to $3.5 million a year on the table, which I don't see that happening at all. I mean, no matter how badly you want to win, $10 million over a 4-year contract is crazy.
Now, the other thing that people are talking about with Marner is, and it's been a thing over the NHL the last couple of years, is that I think a lot of players are going to stop going for the 7 or 8 year deals. I think they're going to start going more towards, as James has his Athena jump in his lap, his cat. I think they're going to start going more towards like 2 and 3 year deals. And I think the reason for that is because, I mean, like, next year, the cap is going to be over $100 million. And it's going to jump up astronomically. At least that's what Puckpedia is saying it's going to do. And that's what Gary Bettman says. That's what the NHLPA says. So, I mean, is it possible for Marner to come here and sign a 2-year deal at $10.5 million? Sure. But again, you would still have to make huge dents in your lineup. And then if you look at your right side and you get rid of Lyubushkin and Dumba, you have Miro, and then you have Nils Lundkvist, who you hope can play top 4 minutes. And then you have Petrovic for sure being your bottom pair right-handed defenseman. That's basically what you're looking at.
Yep.
So first off, would you be okay, either one of you, with that decor? And second off, could you see Mitch Marner signing a 2 to 3 year deal instead of a 7 to 8 year deal?
If you can get Marner for 4 years, yes, you do it. But it's, I mean, less than a 5% chance, because the amount of work that the Stars would have to do to be able to afford him would be crazy. I don't think he'd be willing to sign a $10 million deal just to play for a team he wants to play for. That sounds like crazy work. And yeah, it would cripple the defense. You wouldn't have any room to sign anybody else. You would have to get rid of Lyubushkin. You wouldn't have a choice. So it might nuke this year for the Stars, but in 2 years when the second contract comes off, and you have 2 more years of maybe a cheap-ish Marner compared to what the cap has done, that would look pretty dang good. So if it somehow works, I would say do it, but it's just not going to happen.
I think the big thing for me is Marner's age. He's probably looking for a 7-year long contract, right? Like,
I don't think so.
Yes, the cap's going up, but he is getting older. And as you get older, everyone talks about how your points kind of taper off. And there's no guarantee that he's going to get back to 100 points on a team that is not the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, he doesn't know who he's playing with. He doesn't know who his line mates are going to be. This really is his best chance to cash in completely, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's in the prime of his career. You're exactly right, James. That's when you need to cash in. But that's where we're kind of in new territory with how much the cap is going up over the next few years. So, like, there really may be guys who go aggressive, and yeah, maybe his points do come down, but he might still get a raise just because of how much the cap goes up. So there's really no telling until we see what happens and what the market does.
In the new CBA that they're actually talking about, the NHL and the NHLPA, the collective bargaining agreement, apparently this is the thing that they're now taking all contracts to 6 and 7 years instead of 7 and 8. So
it's been proposed.
They're talking about it, and I've heard this for almost a year now.
Proposed means.
I've heard this for about a year now, but they're definitely considering it. Proposed, whatever. But the reason why it was popping in my brain is because the Board of Governors meeting was today, and I don't think that was highlighted a whole lot, but they did have some outside informal conversations about it outside the meeting. I do know that for sure.
But either way,
okay.
Mitch Marner, we've already heard, is looking for a 3 to 4 year deal anyway. So,
well, but again, he's got to consider all of his options, though, Chris.
He will, but that's what we've heard he's looking for, is all I said.
If he's presented with a 7-year deal and it's $12.5 or $13 million, and that's guaranteed, like in the NHL, those are pretty much guaranteed contracts. You might get bought out at the end of the deal or whatever, but you still get that money in one way or another. You're saying that he wouldn't consider that?
I mean,
he would only consider
it,
a 3 to 4,
but he's going to get 13.5 no matter what his term is, most likely.
See, I don't know.
We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, that's really what it's coming down to. The cap's going to go up so much, and it's something that we've never seen before, and we're just going to have to wait.
If he was going to go play for a team like the San Jose Sharks, which he has absolutely zero connection to, by the way, I'm just making that up. I mean, they would have to throw out $15-16 million for him to even think about it, right? But if he's going to a team like Florida or like Dallas or like what was the other team I said, LA, then he would probably consider a lower cap hit, because he would still get a lot of money. Plus, he'd have a chance to win a Stanley Cup, which has eluded him. So, and the other thing that I was actually thinking about this, and a lot of people are still making a giant big deal about it. I wonder if at 10.5 in Texas, if he would make more money than he did with his $10.9 million cap hit in Canada. I would bet money that he would make more money off of that $10.5 million cap hit in Texas.
It's pretty close. I think it averages around like $400,000 to $600,000 per year benefit, because it is the jock tax. So every time you play in a different city, you pay the taxes of that city. Right. So it's not like he's paying no income tax, no state income tax, but it would be a good at least $500,000 that he'd be gaining more per year.
Chris, can you talk about the Puckpedia GM thing that you sent both me and James for a second, like what the team would look like if Marner was here?
So basically it was just freeing up space. You have to trade Robo, Lyubushkin, and Dumbo, like we talked about. I think on that, I traded Robo to the Rangers because earlier when
Sorry, I'm kind of putting you on the spot.
Yeah, it's fine. Earlier when the Rangers were when Robo was first kind of being shopped around, the Rangers were a big one that people were talking about. And I had the Stars trading all three of those guys for Schneider in a first. And Schneider's a pretty solid young right-handed defenseman. I think he's around $2 million. And I put him as your second pair right D-man. And then you sign Marner to $12 million AAV. And that would work. But even then, that doesn't leave you enough money really to sign Jamie Benn or to carry an extra roster player. So even then, which is a great case scenario, which would be incredible to get, it still doesn't really work out. I mean, Marner would have to take just a massive pay cut to play with Dallas, and he hasn't taken a pay cut yet in his career. So I don't know why everyone's talking about him taking $3 million less per year to play on a team that he wants to play on.
So your top six looks pretty good. It would be Hintz, Ranson, and Marner, Duchesne in the middle with Johnson and Sagan, and then your bottom six looks pretty rough. You got Steele with Ritzkovian and Bourque, which I guess it could be good. And then you got a fourth line of Oscar Beck, Jamie Benn, and Colin Blackwell, which I actually kind of like that fourth line. That's kind of good. But again, that's without an extra forward at all.
And the thing is, with all three of the guys that the Stars are connected to, so that's Marner, Ekblad, and Anderson, you're trading depth to get better up top. That's what all these deals are going to be. And, I mean, that's what you're going to have to live with. And that's what happens when you sign a $12 million Mikko Rantanen, too. You're saying, we want to get better at the top end, and we're going to get worse at the bottom.
And I'm perfectly okay with that. I just don't want us to become super top heavy like we saw Colorado be for a really long time.
Or Toronto.
Yeah, or Toronto. Yeah, it's true. There's some truth to that, too. The other thing about this, though, too, is you have to consider, and we can jump into this, too, because this is another thing that's been reported, that Dallas is keeping those three players on the radar, like you said, Chris, which is why you said it. Rasmus Sanderson of the Calgary Flames, Mitch Marner, who we've been talking about, and then Aaron Ekblad, who is, I mean, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. I don't see him re-signing with the Florida Panthers because they just don't have any cap space, and I think they're re-signing both Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand. So out of those three, I even tweeted this out. I was like, the only reason why the only one that makes any sense to me is Aaron Ekblad. And I even prefaced it with, I don't see any of these three happening. So, and the reason being is because like you said, Chris, for the other two, we would have to give up assets for that. And we'd have to, I mean, Robertson, like you said, is basically gone with either one of those guys, coming to Texas. But with Aaron Ekblad, if you can get him for a decent discount, which, I mean, even then it would have to be what? Maybe $5.5 million at most, then that'd be the only way that I think you could even get Aaron Ekblad. And because he's right-handed, because he's won the Stanley Cup, because he's a first-round pick, he's an alternate captain. I mean, all of these things. He's still, I think he's 27, 28. He's 29. Not even 29. Okay, so I knew he wasn't in his 30s yet. I knew he was close, but he's still going to command what, $7.5 million?
At least getting 7.5. I mean, there's no way he's going that low.
And the Stars are not going to be paying somebody like that when you've got Mira Heiskanen at 8.5, basically.
Well, that's why I'm saying the only way to get any of those guys that are apparently on Dallas's radar is to trade Robo. And the only way they would trade Robo is if he's not going to sign an extension, apparently, which, I mean, might not be a horrible idea.
I mean, how much is he going to command next year?
Yep.
And like if he has a monster, if he has a monster season this year and he, feels better than he did last year because he had a bad year in terms of injury. I mean, if he gets to another 100-point season, what does he command? Does he command Marner money? Does he command 11, 12, 13?
11 at least, yeah.
I think that's in the realm of possibility for Jason Robertson. You might be able to get away with getting him down to 10 or 11 just because of the cap hits of everybody else and what Wyatt Johnson signed for, but I still don't see that being an option. So if you are really truly scared about Robertson's extension, then you trade him. That I think that's where you're at. But at the same time, this is a guy who, again, he scored the last 3 goals in the Western Conference Final for the Dallas Stars, and people are saying he doesn't show up in the playoffs.
Yeah, and he is still an RFA next year, but he does have arbitration rights too, so he can argue to get higher pay as well, which he probably win. I would say he's not going to get a qualifying offer. He's going to get paid more than that.
And if he is playing Mitch Marner points, don't you want Robertson anyway? The younger player, 2-3 years younger than Mitch Marner.
And that's a good question. I mean, they're kind of opposite players, like Ryan was saying. Mitch Marner is more of a playmaker. He has more classic skill, you would say. Robo is more of a goal scorer and has more hockey IQ. He knows where to be to score goals. So that's just 2 different sides of a highly skilled coin.
Right. So and that was my whole point. Like, if you could trade Sagan out, which he's not gonna no move clause.
Let's say this: no contracts, no nothing. Mitch Marner for Jason Robertson, 1-for-1. Would you do it?
No, because again, it doesn't make any sense because the Stars don't. Mitch Marner wouldn't have really anyone else to pass the puck to. Man, I cannot talk tonight.
He'd play on the top line. He'd play with Mikko. Mikko would play on his left. Would you do the trade?
It's not like Rope can't snipe either. I mean,
right.
Rope can finish.
I see what you did there.
Do you do the trade? Quit dodging my question. Do you trade?
My gut says no.
I say yes.
Oh,
why do you say yes?
Marner.
I like Marner. It's an impactful player thing. I know Robo is good, and he can do. He's best at the hardest thing in hockey, and that's scoring goals. But Marner is able to be an impactful player even if he's not scoring goals. He has the ability to have
play.
A strong impact on the game and change the way the game is played. And that's kind of the complaint we've had with Robo all the time. Like,
but now Robo doesn't have to do that
scores.
Because you sorry. Robo you don't have to expect Robo or Rope to do that anymore because you have a Mikko Rantanen getting $12 million. I mean, that's truly why we got Mikko Rantanen, right? Because we didn't.
I mean, I think your whole top line is supposed to be play pushers. I think you shouldn't really have passenger on your top line, in my opinion. I just think that's why Robo is such a unique kind of hockey player. Because, I mean, if you had to define him as a leader or a passenger, he's more of a passenger. But he's a passenger who scores 50 goals a year. So that's
maybe not 50, but at least 30. You can pencil him in for sure for 30.
And if you want to talk about players who have an impact on the game, why not, like, you wanting those players to be on your top line? Why not swap Johnston and Robo? Yep. I mean, that could be a huge top line, and then Robo can just do his scoring thing on the second line. He would slot in for Marchment, which he does similar job to what Mush does. Probably a little less physical, but he goes and hunts pucks like Marchment does, and he goes into the board battles and he just finds a way to get it sometimes. And that's a lot of what they had Marchment doing. And Marchment isn't a fast player either. I mean, he's as slow as Robo is.
And you know what, James? I think you're exactly right, and I think that's why he's so weird. He's like the best second liner ever, and he's going to get paid $11 million a year. Yeah, that's what's so weird about him.
So, okay, so here's the other direction I wanted to go with this as well, and why I don't think Mitch Marner being a Dallas Star makes any sense. Because I still think that you need to fulfill your number 4 defenseman slot. That I think that if you are Jim Nill, and obviously you're keeping all of your options open. I mean, if Mitch Marner works out and you're able to keep Mitch Marner and Robertson, great. Yes, absolutely do it. And he wants to come here for cheaper. If he wants to come here for $8 or $9 million, great. Yes, we'll find a way to do it.
Not gonna happen.
No, I'm right, but like he's keeping the door open and
just making sure you don't get clipped, Ryan.
Yes, true. There we go. Because it's probably going to happen. But I still think that the bigger issue is ever since Chris Tanev left and he was traded away, that they have not had a true number 4 defenseman. And I mean, in all reality, Nils Lundkvist, with the way that he started last year, he could be. He is exactly what you probably want a number 4 guy to be, because he's a puck moving defenseman. Yeah, he's a little bit on the smaller side. He's probably 6 foot on a good day, and
6 foot.
But I think he's actually 5'11". He's 6 foot according to NHL.
This is the worst part about Lundkvist, that we always talk about. He's so small, and you go and you look at his numbers. He's not that small. He just plays small.
Yes.
That's his problem.
But he didn't play that way last year, and it just absolutely sucks that he got hurt. And so him signing at 1.25 is great because he could logically be your number 4 guy. But are you willing to bet money on going to a Stanley Cup final and Nils Lundkvist is your number 4 defenseman? Do you feel comfortable in saying that? Is that good enough?
You're not betting on that right now because, first of all, this is start of season stuff. I mean, start of season last year, our team, especially defensively, looked very, very weak. And there's trade deadline pickups all the time. I feel like the Avalanche are a perfect embodiment last year. I mean, their team did not look great. And then the trade deadline happened and they looked amazing. They looked like a cup contender. So
that's because they traded 13 players away.
The
opening night to the closing night, there were 13 different players on their roster. That's crazy.
My point is, it's okay to have holes at the beginning of the regular season.
I would normally agree with you, except you're going to have a brand new head coach. That would be. I think that's
going to be holes at the beginning of every regular season. I mean, there were holes last year. There was holes the year before that. There's always a place on your roster where you're like, okay, what are we going to do? Like, who's going to do it? Right.
And the Stars also have 2 chances to fill that number 4 defenseman role. Yes, Nils Lundkvist, that would be his natural side and everything.
Liam
Bischel very well might be one of your top 4 best defensemen by the time the end of the regular season happens. So there's 2 players that can step up and fill that role. So, and also I should remind you, we had Chris Tanev for 1 year and we still lost in the conference final. So it's not like that's the key to everything is the number 4 defenseman. We had one and we still got cooked. So they're going to have to find ways to score goals in the conference final. That's what it is.
So I think, sorry, my mind's going a million different ways right now, but I still think that is the thing that Jim Nill really needs to focus on is getting that number 4 defenseman solidified. If we go into the regular season with the way that it is right now, I'm not upset because it still looks pretty good. It's literally Essa and Miro, and then you've got Harley and Lyubushkin. Lyubushkin, I think is fine, and then you've got Bischel and Lundkvist as your bottom pairing with Petrovic as the 6th guy. Now, I mean, Petrovic may even be playing above Nils Lundkvist depending on how how training camp goes and everything like that. I mean, he's been very reliable for the last 2 years in the playoffs. So I think he deserves at least a look at being on the regular roster next year.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. But would y'all be okay with that? Is that good enough to start the year?
It's fine, yes. Especially when you have 2 young guys that might be able to fill that 4 spot without a trade.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, now that being said, I'm going to throw 3 names at you for right-handed defensemen who are being talked about right now. You got Brandon Carlo, you got Rasmus Anderson, and then you've got Brant Clark out of LA. I think all 3 of those guys could be okay. The reason why I say Brandon Carlo is because apparently Brandon Carlo is being shopped by Toronto, even though Toronto just got him at the trade deadline. And I don't know why that would be, but apparently that's a thing. And he's in his high 20s, his late 20s. I cannot talk today. He's in his late 20s. He's 6'5". He's like 225 pounds. He makes $4 million against the cap. Everything seems to make sense for the Dallas Stars in that regard. And then plus the Stars would be trading for him from a position of strength. You don't have to have Brandon Carlo. It's because the Edmonton Oilers, the Toronto Maple Leafs are trying to shed some cap off of their roster in order to go and get out a bigger name. So that's why I said that could be a possibility.
That would be crazy to get rid of Carlo.
Yeah, I don't see why. But again, it's out there, and it's been talked about quite a bit.
That'd be stupid.
I agree. I was really high on Rasmus Andersson, and I still kind of am, but I am less so on Rasmus Andersson because I've seen a lot of tweets lately at how he's kind of fallen off the deep end a little bit. It's not like he's completely unusable.
Fallen off the shallow end.
Whatever. I hate you, Chris. Anyways, but just is he worth the money that he's getting right now? And if we trade for him, does he even fall off even worse than he is now?
Well, the other problem with Rasmus Andersson is he is also an RFA at the end of next season. So if you trade Jason Robertson for Rasmus Andersson, you're in the exact same spot. Now you just have two young defensemen who need big raises instead of a young defenseman and a young forward who need big raises. So that doesn't really solve your problem. It just makes you better on defense, which is fine. It's fine to trade a top forward for a top defenseman if that's what you think your problem is, but it doesn't solve the cap problem.
And then the fourth one, Chris, you mentioned him was what's his first name? Is it Braden Schneider?
I can't remember.
It's Schneider. I think his first name is Braden. Let me look.
I don't even know that he's really on the block, but if he's if Robo's available to the Rangers, I think anyone's on the block.
I think anybody would take Robertson on their team. Anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, like
that's a hot take there, Ryan. My goodness.
A year.
Who wants a young 20-year-old 40-goal scorer?
But will
anyone take this big cap burden off our hands?
And I know that's silly to say that, but that is why I was saying he is most likely, if he's a trade target, then he's the most likely of any of the remaining people that the Stars have, because Lyubushkin is not a top four defenseman, even though the Stars are utilizing him as one. And then Dumba has absolutely zero value. Zero. I will be surprised if we get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in return for Matt Dumba. That might be future considerations, like a sandwich for Jim Nill.
If you could trade him for future considerations, that'd be great. But
yes,
it's more likely now after what happened with Vander Kane, because that's crazy.
True. That's nuts.
Yeah, and we haven't even gotten a chance to talk about everything else that's been going on in the NHL. There's so much other stuff that's going on, but quickly, let's go through the other things that we need to get to. Mason Marchment. You guys haven't gotten a chance to really talk about him all that much. Are you surprised about the trade, and are you happy with what the Stars got back for him?
I think they got less than they could have. I thought Mason Marchment would be a more impactful player. I mean, especially for like Toronto. I figured Toronto would offer more for a player like that. It also goes against what a lot of Stars fans are saying, and the Stars fans are kind of talking out of both sides of their mouth with that one. They're like, we want to get more physical. Also,
I didn't say that.
Let's trade one of our more physical players. So, I mean, I think it's still the right move because I think his out of play antics are not worth what he brought to the game. But yeah, it's a weird move.
So the Stars got So go ahead, James.
I feel like they definitely got less than they probably could have, but I'm sure there's a lot of talking to Marchment that went into this. I mean, this was his like kind of like rebound team after having a really, really tough year. He came to Dallas and he got a lot of emotional support just based off of the people who were around him, who already knew him. And I mean, it's hard to just trade a player to wherever just because they'll give the most money, especially Jim Nill we're talking about. That it's just not something that he kind of does. I'm sure Marchment's had some say in this.
And James means tough year personal wise, as he lost his father before he played with the Stars.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. And what James is inferring here is that Texas is a no state tax state. So is Seattle, which is where Marchment ended up going to. I don't hate the return because the return you got is $4.5 million, which is re-signing.
Right. That's really what you got.
Right. That's really what the trade was for. But bonus wise, you get quantity over quality, right? I mean, you might have been able to get a second round pick, a single second round pick for Mason Marchment in return, but you get a third and a fourth. And especially with the fact that the Stars have been trading away their draft picks like crazy, especially after the Rantanen deal, which I'm not criticizing Jim Nill about. I would have done that in a heartbeat still every single day of the week. But it's nice to at least get a couple of extra darts to throw at the dartboard and see if you can get a hit in the third or fourth round in the next couple of years. Now we'll never know until 4, 5, 6 years down the road from now, but that is something that could happen for Jim Nill and for the Dallas Stars.
I didn't even notice this, but what's funny is that the fourth round pick is the Stars' own fourth round pick that they traded to New York for Nils Lundkvist.
Yes.
So
and then
that's hilarious. I love it when that happens.
You know what it also does is, I mean, it's probably not going to happen, but you could use it for an offer sheet at some point. Just saying. Again, not very likely to happen, but that's why it's more valuable to keep your own draft picks than having someone else's third or fourth round pick or whatever. So there's some truth to that. Okay, and then we got two more re-signings, and I think they're both excellent. I mean, Mavrik Bourque at $950K. That's what we call Jim Nill masterclass. That is ridiculous considering he was probably one of the top offer sheet candidates considering the situation the Stars were in. And if he had signed a $2.5 or $3 million cap hit offer sheet with someone else, the Stars would probably be saying goodbye to Mavrik Bourque. But what's really awesome and what makes me feel even better about this is that Mavrik Bourque wants to be on this team.
Yeah, that's really what
you're not
it tells
signing
me.
for $950,000 if you can make $3 million unless you really want to stay with this team and with this organization. That's just it's awesome.
I don't think he would have gotten $3 million, but I think it was very likely he would get an offer sheet, and he could have at least waited to see if he was going to get one. And he didn't even do that. He wanted to get it done. He wanted to be on the Stars. That's very apparent based off of his situation and what he actually decided to do.
And I think that was his qualifying offer, if I'm correct, right? $950K.
It was a little bit over his qualifying, but pretty much.
Pretty much, right? Well, I mean, $25,000 seems like nothing, but when you're the Stars and where you're at, it could mean the difference in the world. And then the other one, Nils Lundkvist re-signing for $1.25 million. I think if you're not in Dallas and you're looking at that from the outside and you're looking at his stats and that he didn't play that much this year because he was mostly hurt, and I think he maybe scored 1 goal this year, maybe. I don't even know if he did or not, but that signing could be an extremely underrated signing for someone who could be playing in that top 4. Could be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he was definitely getting better last year at times. I still wouldn't say he ever got to a tough to play against kind of level. I don't know if he was playoff ready at any of those points. It's hard to say. It's a guy. I mean, obviously, this is like Jim Nill's pet project. I mean, he's not giving up on this guy as long as he can get him for decent contracts. And if it works out, he's a genius. But it hasn't yet. So I'm not gonna. He was definitely better last year than he was the year before, but that's not saying a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah. I liked the way he had progressed last year. I think he was working towards it, but I agree with you, Chris. I don't think he was playoff ready yet, for sure.
No.
And maybe a system change in defense will help that. Maybe we don't do the man-on-man defense, and that really helps him.
Please.
And we'll just have to wait and see how that works out.
And the other thing about Nils Lundkvist is that we've seen the extreme spectrum with him, right? Like when he first got here, I think he was like top 5 in rookie demon scoring at one point in his first year with Dallas. And then his second year, he kind of got hampered a little bit with everything. And because his offense was great, but his defense sucked. And then he was scared to touch the puck or make a mistake because he didn't want to get taken out of the lineup. And then last year, at the beginning of last year, during the offseason, he bulked up, got like 15, 20 pounds of muscle. And then he only focused on the defensive side, which is fine. And we praised him for it, right? I remember praising him for it through the first 20, 25 games of the season when he was playing next to Esa Lindell. But he's still got to prove it. And that's crazy to say it because he's been here for 3 years now, but we need someone to fill that role. And that is the role that Jim Nill envisioned him being, in a top 4 role at some point. That's why that's the first round pick that he ever gave up, was for Nils Lundkvist. So I don't think that his faith in Nils Lundkvist is misguided. I really don't. I think he's got to, and the DLLS guys put it a really good way. He's got to find a good, healthy balance between the two. He's got to be the guy that's willing to jump up into the rush every once in a while. And he's also got to be willing to make sure that he makes the right play. And he's got to do that without feeling like he's going to be taken out of the lineup. And to his benefit, he's going to have a new coaching staff for the most part. He's going to. And at the very least, Elaine Nasruddin saw that he was playing really well, and he was playing in the top 4 with Esa for a good chunk of the time that he was healthy. So that could be I'm telling you, I really think that this is one of the most underrated things that could happen for the Stars this year.
And we've talked about a lot how we thought it would be really cool if we could get Lundkvist to play in the AHL for a few years, because we saw how much good it did for Harley and his development. Well, we couldn't get him to the AHL, so maybe we bring the AHL to him and we bring Neil Graham to develop him anyway.
Well, I mean, to your point, Chris, Neil Graham has had a lot of success with developing young players, and now Nils Lundkvist is in that weird part of his career, like where he's not quite a young guy, like
no,
a
he's a young
guy.
Or
whatever.
He's 24.
He's not like he's not 19, 20, 21. You know, kind of
almost
like
is.
He's close, but he's literally in between that and the quote unquote prime of his career, which is like your 26, 27 years.
Is Justin Ristkovian a prospect?
I guess no.
No,
I know his age. I know.
Yeah,
how old
there you go. He subverted my questions, people. I want it on the record that Ryan only said no because of the way I phrased the question. So yeah, he's a prospect.
So okay, and then the other thing I do want to talk about is the remaining things that Jim Nill has to do, right? The things he could do is go out and get a top 4 defenseman, right? I still feel like that's a hole. But he has to sign Jim Nill. He has to sign Jamie Benn. Yeah, Jim Nill has to sign Jim Nill. But what are y'all still thinking that it's at the 1.5 to $2 million range, or do you think it's even less, considering all of the things that apparently the Stars are in on right now?
It doesn't really matter. He's going to get paid probably $3 or $4 million after bonuses are all said and done. So his base salary is going to be whatever Jim Nill needs it to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really what it comes down to. He's going to wait until Jim Nill is done, and he says, I want what's left.
Right. And then he'll do bonuses on top to get him to a respectable dollar number.
Okay. So here's my worry. And I still think Jamie Benn is very important to this team. I do. Because there are a lot of people that come out and they still talk about how Jamie Benn is one of the best leaders in the room. And I don't think Jim Nill will be done before July 1st. So what that means, if we're thinking like it's going to happen this way, is that Jamie Benn will technically become a UFA. Yes. And he will be on the free agent market. He will technically be on the free agent market.
But only technically.
Only technically, but there is still that chance.
No, there's not.
That someone comes around and offers him a whole lot of money and a really good opportunity, and he says, "Okay, you know what? Fine, I'll do it." And then we're looking for a new captain again. Very, very unlikely. It's a very,
with all
very
of the talking
scenario
we have heard this offseason, we have not heard a whisper of Jamie Benn not being a Dallas Star. That is not on the table. That's not a thing.
No, and I completely agree with you. But if you wait after July 1st to sign Jamie Benn, there is that possibility that is there.
And I'm telling you, it is not an actual possibility. It is technically a possibility. Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's what I'm saying.
An actual possibility.
It is a possibility. Is there a difference?
No, it is technically a possibility. It is not realistically a possibility.
Okay.
Quit trying to change the words.
Okay, fine. Words have been hard for me today. I don't know why. Okay.
You should be a podcaster.
Yeah, I'd be great at that. Anyways, y'all got anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up here tonight?
Nope, not technically.
Not technically. Well, we are going to try to keep this consistent. I hate both of you. Stop laughing.
I loved that joke, Chris.
Thank you, James. You're a beautiful man.
You too.
I'm just going to wrap this up.
Mwah.
Anyways, guys, thank y'all so much for listening live. For those of you who have been, I apologize for all my word blunders today. I was way off today. And as always, click like and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that notification bell once again. Leave us a 5-star review. If you know someone who would like to be a sponsor of our podcast, please send them our way. Click that link in the description below or in your favorite audio platform of choice. And as always, we thank our Who Cares members who are rolling across the bottom of the screen that you can see if you're watching on YouTube. We thank y'all as always. If you'd like to join, $5 a month. That link is also in the description below as always. I don't know why I feel this. I feel like a big announcement is coming tomorrow. Just a gut feeling. Alongside Chris, alongside James, my name is Ryan. We will catch you guys on the flip side. Hope you guys have a good, fantastic morning, afternoon, evening. Whenever you guys are listening, go Stars.